I'm here sitting with some icons.
Oh my God.
Icons.
Yeah, the sister icon duo.
Sister icon duo.
I've got visions in my head. People tell me that I'm crazy. I tell them that's exactly.
How is it working together, guys?
Ooh.
You guys always have kind of worked together, I guess.
We have.
Yeah.
So a fun fact that not a lot of people know is Alisha started her channel forever ago, and I started working for her as like her videographer while I was in college. And so our plan was,
you were the
like,
original TK.
I was the OG TK. Yeah. So our plan was to move out, and we were both going to college at the time, and I quit my job to do that move, and without even having to like go and find another job, like that job helping Alisha ended up being my full-time job all through school, which was great because I could make my own schedule, and we just worked around my class schedule.
It was nice for me because I know you understand the first year of doing this full time, you're so excited to have so much freedom with your schedule, and quickly you learn working from home it can be really hard to be disciplined.
Self-discipline.
Yeah.
And it was actually such a blessing for me because Ashley could only help me film around her school schedule. So
which was wild because I was
all
like
over
doubling up trying to get done.
Oh yeah,
in
you were
2 years.
taking so many units. So
I was like,
you graduated in 2 years?
No. So I did 2 years of community college and then 2 years at a 4-year. But I had to like double up on a lot of courses to pass in time because I didn't want to pay for another semester because it was super expensive. So my plan was to just double up on all of my classes and get done. So I was like, I can be here between like 2 and 5. I have a class at 6 tonight. And then it was like that for the entire week. It was wild.
You were booked and busy.
Booked and busy. Yep. I was living out of my car.
Literally. But it was so nice for me because I knew, okay, Tuesday after 12 is the only time I can film, this week's video. And I think it was a really good foundation of how we work today.
Yeah, I think it was a great transitional period for
That's
that work
really
ethic.
helpful for like structure.
Yeah.
I want to start with a controversy. Okay.
Ooh,
let's talk pricing. I know you've already addressed this.
We have.
I fully agree with everything that you're going to say, but let's just start off with some controversy just to like spice things up, add some drama,
Oh, my cancellation. So our prices are honestly, I think the lowest thing we have is in the mid 30 range, and the highest price point is $119 for the sweatpants that
which is also so
which Alisha is sporting currently.
And I think a lot of influencers have done projects where they just slap their name on things, which is totally fine. And I think a lot of people just kind of assumed this was also equivalent to the merch that I already have. So some people were just kind of confused, why is it so expensive? And we explained in the full-on documentary, and I know not everyone watched that, but everything is ethically made here in Los Angeles. We were able to go in and touch the fabrics and feel the quality.
Which is such a rare thing.
It's so rare. And, everything being cut and sew also, you can't just buy our pieces anywhere else.
It's not wholesale.
It's not wholesale. So I think after explaining that more so, people fully understood it. And this whole company's been self-funded by both of us, which is really awesome, really terrifying, really scary.
It's very scary. But that's also like, once you take all of that into account, then you kind of realize there's actually like a point we can't go below, because then we can't continue creating Parallel.
No, and to put it into perspective, we so blessed. We sold out within 24 hours of everything.
Wild.
And we didn't make money because we're still in the black, basically, which is part of a business, and we
expected that.
We expected that. And I think when it comes to merch, for instance, I don't pay out of my pocket for someone to buy something. It's kind of made to order. We buy a whole bunch of items, and then we're able to put our stamp on it, do the designs and all of that. But I don't actually have to pay for that. But when it comes to this, because this is a production, we have to pay for the production of the clothes, even if they sell or don't. So that's what makes this completely different. And up front.
Right, a large check.
Yes.
People are also used to fast fashion, and they don't understand that you can't just do those prices. Like that's just Keaton, when she started Twin Flames, one of my best friends, had the same problem because people were like, this is so expensive, this is whatever. And also like, you don't know what other people are charging for the exact same things. It's just wild. I think it's great. I love that it's ethically made. I love the line, guys. How do you feel having like another job title added?
I'm not gonna lie, I was very very excited to put co-founder
we both
of Parallel
we were
Apparel.
Like, do we change it at the same time?
In my Instagram bio. But I also will say this is so not just a fun, oh my gosh, I'm the CEO of this, I'm the co-founder. Like, there's so much work that goes into it. So it definitely feels so well-deserved. Yeah. And it's not just, I mean, there's so much that goes into it. And I feel like I really empathize even with just brands more. You know, I've worked with brands all three of us have worked with brands for years. And just seeing a little more of a glimpse onto the other side, I empathize so much more, because this, you know, even every single PR, like, that costs money out of your pocket, you know, and of course, if you're gifting it, there's no pressure to post, because I understand that side as an influencer, right. You know. But then obviously you're hoping, because it really does cost XYZ money, and there's a lot. So I really do, I think my own personal brand deals will actually be better now, because I can empathize with brands.
I've heard that from other people who have started brands.
Really?
They're like, every single PR package, that's on my story now. Like,
yes. I'm like, look at the packaging. Look at this mailer. Like, it's so invested in everything.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I remember when you bought your house, you saying that kind of gave you, I don't know if anxiety, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Oh, it did.
Okay, so anxiety, right? So obviously, like, the money aspect of that.
Yes.
So when you are funding this, like, did you have the same sort of feeling, or was it different?
Oh, that's a great question.
I remember that podcast.
Yeah.
Was I your second guest?
I don't even know. Was that on a podcast?
I was on your podcast.
No, you were my first guest.
Oh
on
my
the
God.
show, by
It was
the way.
okay. Then
this
it
is
was
your third or fourth episode
I think it's my
here.
third time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so honored. Yeah, I had just moved. That was 4 years ago.
That is
insane.
Wild. I cannot believe that was so long ago.
I mean, we might have done it
almost
3.
5.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But yeah, it was a different type of anxiety. I think now it's a different level of pressure, because we've hired employees too. So it's not just, oh, if I fail, I lose my money. It's I have to let go of other people who
have made this their life.
Their life. You know, it's their income. And I do think that is a level of stress. And then what was more stressful to me was, since we hyped it up so much, we've been working on it for 2 years. There were many, many times both of us had our own moments thinking, can I do this?
Yeah.
Like, there's no going back, you know? Obviously, we could have.
Yep.
Yeah, literally.
The amount of times I sat down to rebudget my budget.
Yes. Just looking at the numbers, or even thinking, am I cut out for this? Can I actually do this? And doing it together, I think, gave me a lot of security. You know, it was so nice being able to have my sister at my right hand, you know, going through the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it was just weird knowing we've hyped it up so much. So if there is hate, or if people don't receive it well, I can't just say, okay, well, never mind.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was curious if you would think that this is a difference. Like, buying the house was a personal thing, but this is such a public, on a pedestal. So, like, if it were to fail, I feel like that would be more stressful.
And we had a lot of conversations around just the idea of failing, or if it doesn't go well. And I honestly think we're both in a time in our career where, you know, if I really do want to keep doing this for as long as I want to, which is not, you know, there's no end as of now that I'm seeing, we have to do more than just uploading YouTube videos, you know? Like, I know we're so talented when it comes to business, but it kind of comes to a point, how many videos about business can I make until I'm actually living my truth, and I'm doing things that are scary, because that's what it really comes down to. So we said we would rather fall forward than not fall at all. And we've already learned so much. So much.
Oh, it's been quite the learning experience for sure.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the fear of failing?
I mean, it still terrifies me.
It could still very much not go well.
Oh, totally. I think really going off of what we were just saying I think my naive self a few years ago would have only cared about my ego and cared that people saw that I failed, where now, even though it's easy to slip back into that and think, oh my God, everyone's going to be like, you know, to not care about that, because again, the knowledge I've learned is priceless. And if that meant, you know, maybe this leads me to my next thing that I do, and I'm able to have a successful business from that because of what I've learned what to do and what not to do from Parallel Apparel. And even though it, you know, it's sold out and it's great, like that's amazing, but what else can we learn from this, you know? And even when I forget whose podcast it was, but I started listening, You're the Same as Me. Like we love the business.
Alisha and I are
so similar.
Same. Yeah.
So similar. I remember listening to a podcast and someone was interviewing a huge businesswoman, and she was describing her career and said for 10 years, a whole decade, she was at this one company and then totally pivoted and did a 180 to a completely different, well-known company now that we would all know. Like, let's say Coca-Cola. It's probably not. But the idea that everything's in phases was comforting to me. You know, the last 13 years I've been working on my YouTube channel. Now the next 5 years, what do I want to be working on? And maybe the next 10 years after that, I'm doing something completely different. But the one thing in common is my knowledge and what I'm learning, you know, and that can take you so many places. So I think a lot of us, especially what we've learned generationally of our parents feeling like, oh, I have to be in this one job for 60 years. Like that's not as much of a thing anymore. Obviously that's still a thing. But I think especially if you are in the business world, you have to accept the fact that most business ventures don't last that long, or they're branched off, or you do something else. I think that's something that I've been learning a lot.
I think what it is allowing yourself to be flexible, like when the bend and flow comes, to like be willing to jump and do something different.
Completely.
Because I feel like it's inevitable, like it's going to happen at some point.
I think that's also really freeing.
So freeing.
Yeah.
Because I can get really hard on myself or think this is forever or whatever. And the idea, I listened to a podcast where someone was saying this as well. I actually think it was like Ernie McManus or something, but that's someone who I really respect because he has so many different career paths and he's changed. And I love people. I was talking to a friend yesterday and she was saying, you know, when I see like a 55-year-old go and get like their PhD or something, I think it's so cool because you're not just like, if you have a different interest, you should kind of like ride that out and do something else. If you can't, especially when you're in digital and there's a lot of different business ventures. I love the story about Patrick Starr helping you and giving you so much knowledge. I think that's so incredible because that's actually pretty hard to find.
It is.
He's a gem.
How did that like impact the business and also almost like your outlook on the world? I feel like that's a life-changing experience.
I wish someone caught on camera me, Alisha, and TK walking out of his apartment because we were all just like, our eyes were huge. We were all just kind of like zombies, like walking out because we had soaked up so much information. He was sitting there just like going off, and TK and I were in the back with our laptops like pounding notes, like just like she was taking photos of the board. I was trying to like verbatim copy exactly what he was saying because he was spitting so much knowledge at us.
One of the smartest people I've ever met, and also him having the feel of being an influencer obviously changes that a lot too, and the obstacles he's ran into. And even when it comes to brands saying your brand is worth XYZ and you being able to know how it works to get analytics and prove to them actually it's worth 3 times as more, and then realize, oh, you're right. There's no PhD for influencing, and a lot of us are, you know, literally the OGs and the starters. And I think the second I also use that to my as a tool, as a strength, instead of letting it make me feel old or irrelevant, like I know some shit, you know what I mean?
Dumb, because I feel like there is this kind of like innuendo of influencers not really knowing like the business side of things,
like realizing that there's so much more than views. Just, you know, someone can come tomorrow, go viral, and have millions and millions of views, but even though my views on my channel are lower, before I would have been like, oh my god, no one cares, blah blah blah, I've learned to value things such as time, you know, the experience, the way that I just understand how this world works, you know.
Also the community.
Going back to Patrick.
Views don't always equal engagement or, I mean, I guess technically, but like actual engagement with an audience.
Yes. Completely. So Patrick Starr, well, around this time, there was a lot of rework going into my team, like my personal brand team. And I realized, you know what, I can't depend on my manager, my agent, or, you know, anyone else to guide me. Like, I need to rock the fact that I know I'm talented, and I just need to be more of what I love being, a boss-ass bitch. But I can't just say that. I have to be that, you know? So I randomly hit up a handful of other influencers who have their own brands. Like one was Jen M, and one was Patrick Starr, and both of them were so amazing. And randomly Patrick was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Or I sent him a text. Sorry. I sent Patrick a text saying, hi, I know this is so random. And I don't do this. No. I am very shy. It was really hard for me to do this because I'm just like, I don't want to bother you. And you know, do you mind if I pick your brain for 5 minutes of just your brand One Size? It's literally a worldwide seller. He's made over 10 million. Well, the brand has made over $10 million. Super successful in Sephora. So I was like, any knowledge I can learn from you, I would love. And he said, yes, come over to my studio. And I was so shocked. I thought it was just going to be a phone call. We go over one night, Ashley, myself, and TK. He whips out a whiteboard. I'm not kidding. And just starts telling me all the ins and outs of what it's like having a business. I went to school for business. I ended up dropping out. So I only have my associate's degree. What I learned from my community college years ago, like I know a little bit, but it was more, let's say, if you sell hats at the mall and blah, like that type of business, you know? So there's a lot of things I know just from being in this world, but there's a lot of stuff I also don't know. So I was so in awe of everything he was sharing, down to budgeting, you know, who's on his team, who's on his One Size team, who's on his personal team, where, you know, we should go, our vision, a brand Bible. I've never heard of a brand Bible before. And he just explained to me, you know, how you can pay up to $50,000 for someone to make a brand Bible, which essentially is every single thing to know about your business, to where if you hand it to a stranger on the street, an investor, your manager, anyone, they know everything about your brand, everything, who it's meant for, and you don't have to explain anything. And obviously I didn't have $50,000 to spend on a Bible like this, but I realized, holy shit, we need to make our own. Like, let's just do it. We can make this.
I mean, he let us flip through his.
He was like, do you want me to send you ours? Like, we'll send it to you. And I was like, you could charge me so much money for this. Thousands and thousands of dollars of me just looking and you sharing all of this. And it was just so interesting. And honestly, he changed the complete road for Parallel, because by the end of that meeting, we knew we have to push this. We were supposed to launch in 2 weeks from there. And we were like, we are not ready. Like, I know I'm not ready.
How far did you push it from that?
From November to October to January.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out spring of this year. And then it got pushed one more time to summer. But yeah, it was weird because we all were ramping up for the launch, and this was kind of like a last minute meeting.
The website wasn't done.
Without even speaking or having any kind of conversation, all three of us, Alisha, TK, and I, were walking out and we were like, it's got to go on hold. Like, we're nowhere near ready.
And it was
we need to hire people.
What the hell were we thinking that we were ready? It was like, why?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're not only are we not ready, we're really not ready.
And
we don't know anything.
I felt like that opened up a safe space for me and Alisha to both at the same time be like, were you feeling anxious? And she was like, yeah, I was feeling anxious. And I was like, I was feeling anxious.
So much.
Which is, I mean, just the way we felt then compared to going into this launch now is like night and day, because I felt like this last launch, I was ready. Everything was in order. There was a plan. There was a strategy.
A long-term even a long-term plan and strategy of what do we want this to be? You know, obviously we want to do it cool, but do we want it to be more of a boutique vibe? Do we want to be in store one day? Do we want to be worldwide? Like, what's the game plan here? And we didn't have any of that, which is so embarrassing to say because it's the first thing you should think of. But we're just kind of going with the flow. And after that, we realized, you know what? We want this to be a multi-million-dollar business. We're going to need investors one day. So let's go through with this launch, self-funded. Let's prove to people what we could do, what this brand is capable of.
Let's find out where that bar can be set.
Let's gauge that. And then from there, we can take all of our information and, you know, find the right partner to partner with, or people to also see the same vision. And I would have never come to terms with that if it wasn't for Patrick, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
Wow, I love that. I think that's the coolest story.
It really is.
I
love him.
What are some other things you've learned business-wise that are just, like, blew your mind?
Which another obvious one, like, just because you're paying a lot of money for a service doesn't mean it's the best. So I think a lot of people, you know, getting into a business, you're like, oh, I have to hire the best photographer, or I have to hire the most expensive stylist or the most expensive person to create the website, when in reality, like, obviously that's not the case, but we've definitely learned that firsthand of just because we were paying the highest price for someone who was more qualified, I honestly think we could have gotten a better outcome with someone who maybe was starting out and had a more of a hunger for it.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of that. I feel like for me, something that I learned was figuring out like exactly what our talents were and really leaning into those. And then the areas where it would have been more half-assed, or I would have had to kind of fake it a little bit, just completely giving it to someone way more qualified. And then allowing myself to like sit and watch them and learn from them. Like we hired a girl to work full-time for Parallel, and when she first came on board, half of the stuff she said just went straight over my head. Like I had no idea what she was talking about, and now like moving forward, I've been able to like help her and like have full conversations about the clothes with her, whereas before like I had no idea, and we were supposed to do that on our own.
Yeah, even for instance, we both planned on hiring out to edit the videos that were going on our YouTube channel. And we definitely had help. You know, TK was helping me. I even had another editor help me just rough cut because we had days of footage to go through of 2 years worth. But in the end, we were working with a production company who are great. But it was interesting because we ended up editing those videos pretty much ourselves because we realized like we know our voice and we know our audience and
it's our channel.
And it's our like we have to have that personal touch to it. Another instance where, you know, we just because we're hiring it out, like honestly, I just didn't. My whole team knows I'm picky, so they will not care me saying this. I got the videos back and I was like, I can't. Like, I could not upload this. It feels like a commercial. It
felt very produced. It didn't feel like Alisha. Same for me.
Exactly. And the company we worked with, I still love. They did everything on the website. It looks amazing. But when it came to Alisha Marie and my channel, it was so different. And I'm so glad that we were able to have that moment and realize, you know what? It's worth to waste the money. And, you know, we've already paid them to do it. Who cares? Let's just start from scratch because there's a reason why our channels are all special. There's a reason why brands want to work with you and me. Like, there is something special to that. So I think so many influencers, myself included, you're so excited to hand it off and just pay for someone to do it because there's a lot of work. We edited that video for 2 months straight. Like, the one that went on my channel, you were working on yours for pretty much the same amount of time.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why.
But it was a collective thing. Like we sat and watched Alicia's, the one that they put together for Alisha, and I was like, that's not
it.
It's just
cute.
Not.
No, it was great. It was a
great.
wonderful video, but it just wasn't. It didn't feel like your channel.
No.
When like the whole point of the channel is for it to feel like you, right? So that I feel like was a big moment where we were like, okay, we are going to make room in the schedule to edit all of this ourselves.
We've learned so much. Another thing we learned was, you know, we initially hired someone to be the head of marketing, and it quickly her job changed to the head of operations because we are doing the marketing ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's funny because obviously it doesn't feel like that because to us we're just making YouTube videos. However,
but it very much is.
But
marketing.
it was. Yeah. So it was interesting figuring out, again, going off of what you said, our strengths, our weaknesses, where do we need help? Let's hire that out quick with someone who understands that world. And
yeah. Also, the shoot day, something that we all kind of agreed on, Alisha, me, TK, was that obviously we hired a team to help do the shoot and run everything. But we were like, we're very much aware that we are influencers. Our whole like platform, our audience is all online. That includes TikTok, that includes Instagram, like all of those things. So we went in with the full intention of like not wasting a second. So if there was a model sitting, she was filming a TikTok. Like we were all rotating, taking turns, constantly getting, content for socials because we all agreed. We were like, it takes one viral TikTok to sell out.
That's more valuable.
Yeah.
We'd rather have that than like a nice photo, you know, even though we need the photos.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
It's insane.
We went into it. We were like, okay.
I literally wrote up these like page documents for everyone. More of our personal team, like you, TK, my assistant. And I had all their to-do list basically for the shoot, their role, everything. And at the end, it was all bold, all caps. I was like, if anyone tells you to stop shooting, don't, unless you look at me and I say stop shooting. Because I was like, I don't want any like photographer or someone who's getting something to be like, oh, you need to move. Or I'm like, no, the TikTok's more valuable to me. Like, that's why we're here. Yeah. And it was just funny because we always laugh about that.
Yeah.
Or like,
so we really leaned into what we're good at.
Yeah.
I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah. And a viral TikTok will do wonders.
Oh my God.
It is crazy. Okay. When you guys are looking to hire, what are you looking for characteristic wise?
One thing I loved that the girl who we ended up hiring did on the interview was, one, just asking us a shit ton of questions. She was so interested to know who else we already had on the team, what her exact role would be. You know, she already had experience. That was a non-negotiable. We interviewed probably like 7 people for this role. And some of them, it was just so interesting, again, being on the other side of what was so just half-assed. You know, obviously it was all over Zoom, but some people not even knowing who we were. And I was like, damn, if we're giving you, you know, a salary, you know, like at least do your research. Like the tiniest.
That's like the lowest of low standards.
Bare minimum.
Yes. Yeah, bare minimum.
Yes. And it was interesting because I think if I was hiring more of an assistant role, I would have been more open, you know, but to me, I'm like, if you're going to be the head of our baby that we've worked on for 2 years, like you have to wow us. And
also, I think both of us, our personalities in general, we need people that are a little more assertive and that do ask those questions. And she was asking questions that I had to look at our manager and be like, do you know the answer to that? Like, you know, but like me and her, or me and Alisha, I feel like need that because that kind of pulls that side out of us. Whereas even though the other people we interviewed were great, they seemed very kind of laid back and didn't really assert themselves.
Yeah, we just need proactive.
We just need proactive.
I just don't want to have to give you a to-do list. You know, I want you to say, hey, I took initiative. We need this done. I already did it. You know, like that's what we need.
What else really wows you in an interview?
I think also I don't know if this is just me because I didn't come from a traditional business background. I hate when people try to overcompensate and prove that they're like, don't get me wrong. I love when someone's dressed up for an interview, but I don't want a full, like, I want to know who they are. You know, I want to hear some personality in there. I don't want the robot answers that are perfect on paper. I want to hear her say, I don't know. You know, I want to hear her say, ooh, let me think about that. I want that person to just be honest, I think, and genuine. I really look for those type of things. And also, I mean, our company being, you know, small, there's so much room for growth. So even though someone's coming into an entry position, there's so much room and like endless room because we're working on so many other things that, you know, maybe one day we're going to look for a CBO, you know, like we're really looking for people who are invested in the growth of the company and not just their next paycheck.
Also, not to make this sound like dating advice, but personality I feel like was a huge deal too because we are such a small company. Like our meetings are in our house, you know, and so I feel like the girl that we have, like she fits perfectly, like even down to like her humor. That wasn't obviously like a deal breaker, but it was so really nice how like we feel really comfortable with like her in the house and like coming over all the time.
Such a personal, you know, it's such a personal, you can't be filming weird, morning routines.
It's not an office.
I want to talk about your confidence journeys because obviously Sexy As Is, which I think is really cool. I also think it's cool that you guys were able to come out immediately with such a like wide size range. That's very cool. Yeah. How have you guys gained confidence throughout the years?
I don't even know. Are we there yet? Just kidding.
Honestly, we both have had a huge self-confidence and self-love journey. Our slogan, our motto is Sexy As Is because we've all tried the juice cleanses and every single thing to feel, you know, I think there's a difference between if you have an event coming up and you just want to feel your best so you work out for that, or versus, you know, you have a bikini shoot and you are trying to change your body type. And I think I've fallen into that toxic world of not just feeling good enough at all. And then you look back and you realize I've wasted all my life not feeling good enough. When am I actually just going to accept my body? You know, when am I just going to say, you know what, screw you if my standards aren't, not standards. What it really took for me was my personal own fitness journey. I went in to get healthy. I ended up going down to like 12% body fat, which is not Weight Watchers. Oh my God, cut that. Which is weightlifting type, you know, super body competition level of fat percentage. And even then, my hormones were messed up. I felt the most insecure in my life.
Starving.
And I just was not treating my body right whatsoever. And I remember then having that feeling of, you know what, if I'm going to these gifting suites, or if I go to the red carpets, or if I go to all of these brand trips with other super, super tiny models who, you know, if I go to all these showings or red carpets and I still feel insecure, screw that. Screw everyone. You know what I mean?
All the hard work, the headaches from not
it was
eating
just
well.
Stupid. It was so toxic. It was so messed up. And I'm in such a better state of mind now with all of that. I have a much better relationship with food, and I think I don't want everyone else to have to go through that of, you know, just that intensity of it all.
Mm-hmm. And I think Alisha and I both, because we both went through that around the same time together, just realizing that there is no goal that you're actually going to feel this kind of like confidence overwhelming.
It's not a size.
Yeah, that just like that all of a sudden you can walk out the door without thinking twice. Like that's never going to go away.
But people we all idolize, you know, a size or a weight or a number. Why? Like it's so messed up. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Okay. It's so fucked up. Like it's so. Oh my God. So the whole point for us is we really just wanted this brand to be something that anyone can wear and feel just good about themselves. Like just feel good, because guys, we are all so sexy as we are. We're hot. We're beautiful. Like why we've let the media made us feel less than. And I'm so over trying to fit into that. You know, I have an athletic body. I always will. Like I always will. I can't change that. For years I wanted to change that, and it's so toxic, and it really honestly is so frustrating. And it was a no-brainer for us to come out with plus sizes right away, because again, we got to practice what we preach. You know, we can't say everyone's beautiful and not, you know, come out with other sizes. And
and full circle, coming out of Patrick's meeting, one of the things he said was like, what do you want your brand to be? Like, what do you want it to stand for? What's the messaging behind it? That obviously was it. The Sexy As Is was the messaging behind Parallel. So that's why, like, right off the bat, we want to be as inclusive as we possibly can. Obviously, we're just starting out. We can't go as high as we would love to.
Another way I empathize with brands more now is realizing, if you do want to have an extended size range, like that is a lot more money.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, because I have, like, obviously we have other friends who own brands, so I only know that because of them, and they're like, it's not that I don't want to, it's just that they can't afford it at the time.
And that's something else that we were able to, and we were financially able to do that. But I empathize more with brands now, because I used to be way more judgmental of brands when I'd be like, they only came out with like those sizes.
Yeah, they only go up to like XL. Like why? Yeah, and then it's like, and
then realizing, you know, like there is, or like it is just more money, you know, and obviously that is something too. But
another huge thing we learned was that for plus sizing, it usually just kind of grades up to scale. Is what most companies will do with their clothing. And so we had been talking specifically about the plus size range and how we wanted to do it. And we wanted to do it really well, like the best we could. We have a dear friend of ours who is a professional plus and curve model. And she was super cool and was down to come in and just try on the clothes, see how it looks, like just give us some edits. We were stoked. We thought she's going to see it for the first time. She's going to love it. You know, she did, but she came in and went off. And it was a moment where like we told her not to hold back, and she didn't. And she gave us a ton of edits on absolutely everything. And then
side note, that is something that's so important. You have to have people who will tell you this sucks.
Not yes people.
Not the yes men.
Yes. Yeah. So it's so important. And she did. I would say 50% of it she loved and 50% of it she hated. We ended up scratching like 3 of the items because we were just like, you know what? We were going to come out with this bralette, but you know, it just didn't look good, and we couldn't come around to like how we could fit, and we were just like, you know what, let's just scratch this, like let's just scratch it.
And another huge like learning moment for us was watching her say it needs just 1 centimeter here and it'll change everything, like, or adding a couple centimeters here.
You know how small a centimeter is?
Tiny. And it was like thinking about like rolling up or covering just like a little bit more of like your arm, and little things like that. So watching her give her edits really dramatically changed our plus sizes, and we couldn't be happier.
And
with
again,
how that turned out.
we don't have knowledge in that area, and I think being able to say, okay, we don't know, let's get someone who does, was very helpful. Obviously, that was just with a few round of edits, so obviously it's not going to fit everyone perfectly, but I think we did an honestly really good job just trying to be aware of that and making those changes.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything negative yet, I guess.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. You leave today. I love what you said about the whole guessman thing, though. I think that translates to every single area of your life.
Totally.
Every single one. Okay, my last question, because obviously you're adding more to your plates, and I love routines. Day to day, I know every day is different, but what are your routines? What are things you're doing every day to set yourself up? Even if it's a morning routine or whatever, but just day to day, how are you handling this now as you're adding more to your plate? You have to increase your capacity, essentially.
You start first.
Okay.
I need time to think.
I think mine's always kind of been similar to the schedule that it is now, but coming out of quarantine, it was a little more difficult, but adding Parallel on top meant I just simply had to get up earlier. And quarantine I had been sleeping in a lot longer, as I think all of us were. So I'm really into my workouts. I always have been. It gives me energy and it makes me feel good and confident throughout the rest of my day, and just super productive. Just checking something off the list makes me feel super productive. So I've been waking up earlier. I've been getting my Devo, my workout, shower out of the way and ready by 9:15ish, which is a big deal for me compared to this last year. And I know a lot of people are listening and they're like, oh, that's not even that early, but it is for me. So baby steps.
That's huge.
And yeah, that, and I've always been really into my skincare. So I still like skincare.
She loves her skincare.
Yeah.
Honestly, I am still, being very honest, I'm still kind of exhausted from everything, and I've been struggling now with being mad at myself for wondering, Alisha, why is it taking you twice as long to film a normal YouTube video, or why are you not have the energy to film a vlog or something? And I'm catching myself having to realize, okay, you're tired, you're exhausted, you need to rest.
Still coming down from,
and that's hard for me, because in my head that launch was forever ago. I'm like, what do you mean? I've slept great last night, but I still struggle with that. I think the number one thing is, I could not do my life without my team in that sense. Even with Pretty Basic, we hired someone to be a full-time coordinator just to, figure out the guest situation, figure out payments, figure everything that goes into that, even just the creative behind some of that stuff. So I would say with Pretty Basic, I have been able to hand off a lot of stuff where I'm more so the talent, which has actually been extremely nice, because so that machine's kind of nice and going. I feel like my own personal brand for Alisha Marie has been honestly pretty good. I think that's where the most struggle is right now, because literally yesterday it took me twice as long to film a normal video, and I'm like, ooh. But I did end up hiring an editor for that, who I've been working with her for a few months now, who I love. So I've just been delegating. I think that's the only way that's been helpful. And then now I'm just trying to actually take that intentional time to rest.
Yeah. Delegating is also huge for you.
I know,
because I remember a few years ago, this was pre-TK even, and that was the number one thing. I remember us having conversations. I was like, but maybe you should hire someone. Yeah. I just can't let it go.
Yeah.
It was an ego thing. It definitely was everyone else is just hiring someone, but I'm going to do it myself type thing. However, I will say, after editing the documentary video for Parallel on my channel, I love editing, and I'm good at it. I think I can finally say, oh my gosh, I am good at this. I'm talented with this.
But that's where I think it comes down to, because you are the boss of your brand, you can be actually, I think I want to edit that one.
Yeah.
And you can be that one I feel needs to have my flair to it, and you can give away the rest too. Yeah. And it's learning when to pick and choose when you should and when you shouldn't.
Yeah. So delegating for me has been the number one.
But also, if you think about, had you not delegated, there's no way you'd be doing all this stuff now.
No. And that's the reason why I even started delegating, was because I realized, you know what, I cannot do YouTube for my whole life. As much as I want to pretend that when I'm in my 40s, I'm still going to be getting millions of views. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the mommy and me movement will be,
another wave.
Another wave.
Just wait. It's coming.
So many phases. It's Alisha, mommy and me. Yeah.
We love
Mom Alisha.
Mom Alisha.
Mom Alisha. Yeah.
But
It'll be like
being,
fiance Alisha.
Literally, I'll have the full. But yeah, point being, I just realized, you know what? There's more to me than just making YouTube videos, and I want to do
Diversify.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
So I feel like there's a lot of people who want to actually like start a business, or they talk about it for so long. How did you actually, like, when were you like, I'm actually going to do this, and stuck with it? Because you guys talked about how many times you're like, I don't know if I can handle this.
Yeah.
And in those moments, I feel like that happens to everyone.
Yeah.
So how did you actually like push through that?
What's funny is in the beginning, I had wanted to do this brand for a solid 6 or 7 months, and I couldn't picture it without Ashley. And the second that I knew she was going to do this with me, I think more than anything, it gave me that security of having someone by my side to go through it with, because I knew this was going to be a big thing. Mm-hmm. And the second we agreed to do it together and be co-founders, then it was a no-brainer.
It's funny. For me, I think, because she had told me the footage of her telling me outside of the gym was actual raw footage of me actually hearing it for the first time. So what I was like, sure, like, I'm down. I was all in it. That sounds great. It wasn't until we got the trademark for me that I was like, oh, we're doing this.
Because if not, we just ate the money.
And then there was a second time. So the trademark happened, and I was like, cool. Like, it was one of the first things that happened was we just happened to get Parallel Apparel like right off the bat, which is such a random, weird fluke thing that never happens to companies. So once that happened, I was like, okay, we're all in, we're doing the damn thing, and we're moving forward. Obviously COVID hit, and then a bunch of things happened. And it wasn't until I think I started like wondering if it was actually going to happen, because it was getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And then once we hired our head of operations, that was another final. I was like, okay, this is happening. It's happening. Yeah. Those were two very big moments for me where I was like, oh, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah. But I think what's helped that, honestly, and my advice for anyone is just acknowledge the fact that you don't know everything, and it's not going to be perfect the first time out. There's going to be feedback. You know, this is our first drop. And again, we've already learned so much, and there's so much beauty in that, and just knowledge and learning. And I think so many of us, you know, are perfectionists, and we want to put our best foot forward. But I think luckily opening up about that and saying that we, you know, whether it's we're nervous or we don't know if we're going to fail, has given me, full circle moment, so much freedom in feeling okay to fail, because you know what, I'm not trying to act like I have my life together. You know, I'm sharing that we're nervous and we might lose all this money, but at least we'll learn from it. And I think that has given us so much freedom to not stress out too much about it.
Yeah, I think we both went into this knowing that it was going to be a risk, and it could very much not work out, and that would be fine.
But even if we could just cut even,
it's
the amount of jobs that we've been able to make is so exciting. Like it's so, that alone is liberating, realizing, holy shit, like I was able to create like that for someone. That's amazing. You know?
We were talking about this recently, like what success is to one person is so different to another person. Like, it's relative. And we did go into this thinking like, okay, for the next like 5 years, if we simply like cut even, like that's success.
Oh my God,
like it's working, and there's obviously an audience for it, and a customer base for it. So, you know, just being proud of where it's at right now, and I do see a big future for it.
Yes.
So
have you gotten your PR yet?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh my God,
I've been out of town though.
I was gonna say it might be there.
When you get back home, let me know.
Okay, perfect.
If not, I'll make sure you get it. But I'm excited for you to try it.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I loved this episode.
Oh my God.
I love having you guys on. I actually haven't been on the podcast.
No.
I was gonna
That's
say
actually
this is
so
my
weird.
first time. I didn't know I was sitting next to an OG Alisha over here.
She's the OG.
The first one. I didn't realize that. That's
what a
crazy.
star we have. Okay, where can they find you guys?
Well, you can shop our new clothing brand at parallelapparel.com.
And at Parallel Apparel everywhere.
Yeah, thank God we were able to get that too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wild.
Actually.
That's awesome. Parallel Apparel everywhere else: Instagram, YouTube channel, Twitter, and our personal stuff. You can check me out at Alisha Marie.
And I'm Ash Nichole.
No more XO.
No more
R.I.P. XO.
I didn't realize the movement that was going to come with the termination of XO. The amount of DMs that I got was ridiculous.
DMs.
I'm pretty sure they all came from TK.
Well, Kenzie had a sign on the corner.
Yeah, exactly. I was
saying it.
with Phil the other night and we were talking about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, no more XO. Like, I don't know what I went to tag you in something and it just felt wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
it's been there from the beginning. And the full story, and I'll keep it short, is like there's a ridiculous amount of Ashleys out there trying to find a YouTube channel. For me, like that handle was so hard, and we ended up just like adding an XO just to get the handle because I couldn't come up with any other thing, and I didn't like the XO.
I love the XO.
I hated it. I was like, I don't like this. Like it just feels weird. But then it became its own thing. And so I finally was able to switch it, so we did. And the backlash was ridiculous.
It really. Ash Nichole XO.
We're going to make merch.
Yeah. We're going to bring back the XO.
Yeah, please bring back the XO. Okay, well, thank you guys for coming on.
No, thank you so much for having us.
I won't lie and tell you that.
Mind is this big mind thing building the stuff into our brain. So our mind is sort of the 90% of who we are. The brain is the 1 to 10% of who we are. So brain and body physical, the small part, mind, the big part that drives it all. If you're dead, there's no mind. Brain and body disintegrate, nothing happens, okay?